Here are 19 lessons I've learned from 7 years of training experience. Lesson 1, less is more. Effective training is about quality, not quantity. When you train hard, you only need a small quantity of training to build a lot of muscle. The duration and quantity of your training is irrelevant. What counts is training hard, and when you train hard, your body can't handle much volume. In our society, there's a widespread belief that more is better. Work longer hours, get a bigger paycheck. Study more, get better grades. But because of how strenuous weight training is and our body's limited ability to recover, more is not better. Less is more. Lesson 2. A great physique is the result of being able to move decent weights for reps on a handful of the best compound exercises and then being lean. To get big, get strong for reps. You will struggle to find a natural weightlifter who is bench pressing 300 pounds for reps who doesn't have an impressive upper body. When you're not taking steroids, there's a strong relationship between size and strength. The secret to building a great physique is in having a handful of compound exercises that work well for you, that you can train intensely, that work a lot of muscle in your body, and that you're going to focus on mastering and getting as strong as possible at over time. Lesson 3. If you train more than 2 to 3 times a week, you might gain a little muscle, but not as much as if you have 4 or 5 days of recovery each week. Most people will see their best muscle and strength gains training just twice a week. This has been the case for me and most of my clients. Training 3 times a week can also be effective if you keep the routines very brief. Despite what most people think, muscle is not built in the gym. It's built outside of the gym when you're resting and recovering. When you have so many recovery days each week, magical things happen. You gain muscle faster since you're giving your body the rest time it needs to grow. You feel completely fresh and recovered for every workout, and as a result, you can train much harder and thus stimulate more muscle growth. Your central nervous system needs to be fresh for you to train hard, and your central nervous system takes 48 hours to recover from a hard workout. So if you're training on consecutive days, you're not training as hard as you could. Finally, when you have more recovery days, you achieve consistent progressive overload. Achieving progressive overload requires you to push yourself beyond your previous capabilities. You're striving to add a rep or a little bit of weight in each workout. You can't do this if you're still fatigued from your last workout. You need to be completely fresh and recovered if you're going to make consistent progress. Successful weight training is not about going to the gym as many days as possible. It's about stringing together many progressive workouts over time. In our case, this means adding a rep or a little bit of weight to the bar in every workout or every other workout. This small progress puts a lot of muscle on you over time, and you can only achieve this consistent progress when you emphasize your recovery. Lesson 4. Always start too light rather than too heavy. When you're beginning a new training program or a new cycle, always start light. Starting with weights that are too light will give you a chance to consolidate your exercise technique and build momentum. It's like creating a springboard that will set you up for success. If you start too heavy, you'll quickly hit a plateau since you didn't give yourself a chance to gain momentum. You also risk injury since you didn't give yourself a chance to consolidate your exercise form. If you're a busy man in your 30s and 40s looking to build your dream physique with minimal time commitment, click the link below to pick up my free minimalist muscle building masterclass. It's the first link in my description. Lesson 5. The workout split doesn't matter. There are so many workout routines and splits that have the potential to be effective. Pick a reasonable routine and stick with it until it stops working. Don't jump from program to program hoping to find the perfect workout split. It doesn't exist. Find what works best for you to keep adding weight to the bar over time. Lesson 6. You don't need cardio to get lean. Most cardio forms are counterproductive for getting lean because they tend to increase your appetite. If your goal is to get lean, ditch intensive cardio and focus on walking instead. Lesson 7. Consistency, consistency, consistency. The person with a shit program who stays consistent will make better progress than the person who's following the most optimal workout routine but jumps from program to program or is inconsistent. Lesson 8. Without patience, you'll get nowhere. You can't rush changes in physique and strength. To build respectable muscle mass, you have to lift heavy things consistently and recover well consistently for 2 to 3 years. And to get close to your genetic potential, it's going to take more like 3 to 5 years. Consistent effort over time is the name of the game. There's no such thing as a magic routine that will shortcut your results. The only magic is in consistent hard work and patience for 3 to 5 years. Lesson 9. There's no magic rep number. As long as you perform your sets in the 5 to 30 rep range and train hard by pushing your sets close to failure, you will gain muscle. There's no such thing as a magical rep range. What counts is how you apply yourself to the reps you do. Lesson 10. Steroids change all the rules. Steroids give you superhuman recovery abilities, which allow you to recover fast and easily from high volumes of training. You can grow on steroids without even training, so don't listen to steroid users. 99% of fitness gurus are taking steroids, and most people are fucking sheep and listen to them because they have the biggest followings, and that's why most people get fuck all results. That freaky fitness influencer you follow is jacked almost always in spite of his training knowledge, not because of it. Lesson 11. Ignore anyone who complicates training. Simple and basic training routines are the most effective, but as human beings, we have a complexity bias. We would always rather believe that the solutions to our problems are complex, when most of the time the answer is quite simple. People step over the easy 90% to focus on the tricky 10%. Anyone who complicates training is either trying to sell you some bullshit or doesn't understand it themselves. Amateurs make things complicated. Professionals simplify things to their essence. Lesson 12. Most people in the fitness industry who say they're natural aren't. Lesson 13. Look at well-developed natural lifters and they'll be strong. It's only when steroids come into play that the relationship between size and strength is lost. Lesson 14. For as long as you want to get bigger, your number one priority always must be progressive overload in good form. You can ignore almost everything besides progressive overload in good form on a handful of really good compound exercises. Lesson 15. Avoid injuries like the plague. After 7 years of training, I've discovered that there's a real shortcut to achieving your dream body, and that shortcut is avoiding injuries and setbacks. Ultimately, the secret to building a great physique is in staying consistent for years. And what hurts your consistency more than anything? Having to take time off the gym because you hurt yourself. If you can simply avoid getting hurt, you'll achieve your dream physique faster since you can avoid taking time off the gym. Lesson 16. You need to eat, but not too much. There are two types of people: those who are terrified of gaining an ounce of body fat on a bulk, and those who gain way too much body fat on a bulk. The truth is, both of these are wrong. You need to eat enough to be in a calorie surplus and gain weight, but you don't need to eat so much food to where you get fat. The guys who are terrified of gaining body fat never eat enough to gain muscle and just continuously spin their wheels. The guys who get too fat have to spend long periods of time cutting, and they inevitably lose a significant amount of muscle they gained. The sweet spot is somewhere in between. Don't be afraid of a little body fat. It's only going to help you make faster progress. And the truth is, losing body fat is quick anyway. Just don't go overboard and gain too much fat, because then you're going to want to cut your bulk short before you've gained any significant muscle mass. Lesson 17. There's no such thing as toning or shaping. A muscle can only grow or shrink. To improve your physique, grow your muscles and lose some fat. Lesson 18. When you plateau, reduce, don't add. The most common advice in the fitness industry is that as you get more advanced, you need more volume to continue growing. This is completely false. Besides poor nutrition and sleep, the most common cause of plateaus is doing too much. The period of time when you can get away with doing the most training is when you're a beginner. As you get more advanced, you become much stronger and move heavier weights. This takes a huge toll on your body, and in order to continue making progress, you need to free up some recovery. And the way you do that is by reducing your volume and training less often. Lesson 19. Nothing is more important than sleep. You could have the most optimal training and nutrition plan, but if you're not sleeping, it doesn't mean shit. 8 hours a night should be the minimum if you're serious about making progress. Most of your muscle growth will happen in your sleep. So if you don't sleep and rest enough, your body will not respond to your training, and all of that effort that you're putting in is going to go to waste. Without proper sleep, you won't even be able to stimulate muscle growth to begin with. How can you train hard enough to stimulate muscle growth if you're never well rested? Sleep is one of those obvious things that most people know they should be prioritizing but aren't. Instead of focusing on sleep, most people focus on useless bullshit like workout splits and the optimal training volume for maximizing muscle growth.